Hey everybody, welcome back to One Man's Perspective. We are here talking today about day 6 of the World Cup. Yet again, I just have to recognize that the World Cup is one of my favorite times of the life in general because the World Cup is just, it brings everybody together. It's unity, it's football. At its finest, I don't know. Everybody always is like, oh, this is the pinnacle of, football. And I think the spectacle is for sure. Maybe the quality of the teams less so. And as we get into the 2026 World Cup, where I believe they're looking to jump it from 32 to 48 teams to get more countries involved, we'll see how that plays out. With FIFA's new, uh, you know, style of the World Cup. With those 48 teams. But that's all a side note. I just wanted to say that I love the World Cup, and I know that you all do too. So we're going to go over our day 6 recap real quick. So right now, I just want to talk about we had in my mind today two teams that I like a lot, that I feel are under-recognized and underappreciated, who both won today, and we're going to be talking about Iran and Senegal. But that said, we'll get into the first game of the day today, which was Iran-Wales. Let me put it to you in simple terms. If you are a fan of any team from the United Kingdom, then today was not your day. Wales literally put in an abject performance. I mean, just I don't even know what to say about it. It was poor by all standards. It was lackluster. There was not much energy. There was no cohesion. The team just seemed like they were running down blind alleys. It was poor. It was hard to watch if you're a Wales fan. That said, Iran, this was more like what we expected to see from Iran, or what most people expected to see from Iran. They're ranked 20th in the world. They're not a bad team. They did get outclassed, outplayed, out-muscled in the game against England with a 6-2 loss, in round one. But this was more what we expected. And so for me, Iran are, again, underappreciated for the team that they are. They're a solid team. They have a lot of stuff going on off the field right now. So it's got to be difficult to be able to come into this game, after their silent protests in round one, to come back and essentially most likely be forced to sing their national anthem in round two here and just deal with all the things that are going on at home. But to put in a performance like that, where they were resilient, they were dogged, they were gritty, they had multiple opportunities to score before they did. Essentially, they were unlucky not to, honestly. But they left it late. There was 9 minutes of extra time, which is good. They scored in the 8th minute of stoppage time, and then again in the 10th or 11th minute of stoppage time because of the extra time from that goal. That said, they deserved their 2-0 win. They truly, truly deserved it, and Wales deserved everything they got, which was nothing from this. Currently sitting bottom of the group, unlikely to advance, but I don't think many people expect them to advance in the first place. Essentially, they go up against England in the last game, and I don't really expect much from that game for them. I expect England to win that game, or at least draw, because that's all they need to move on. So, Iran, lots of credit to you all. Great performance today. We'll see what you guys do up against the U.S. In round 3, and you have your fate in your own hands. That said, let's get down into our second game of the day, where Senegal sends Qatar home at home from the World Cup. They essentially sent them off in the World Cup. Qatar is the first host nation to ever lose their opening game, and now they've lost both games, sending them home immediately. They are out of the World Cup, first team eliminated. And they know they could do better. The Qatar are the 2019 Asian champions. They are a team that had played some great friendlies leading up to this World Cup, and essentially have had 12 years to build a team since the 2010 awarding of the World Cup to Qatar. And they know that they could have defended better. That to me was where they lost these two games, was just poor mistakes, unfortunately for them. But Senegal fully deserved this win. They this is more of the Senegal that we also expected to see. I mean, they lost to the Netherlands 2-0, but for two late mistakes by Edouard Mendy, who typically is a phenomenal goalkeeper, and you have to give him a lot of credit for bouncing back in this game. I would say that Senegal are just a good team. Like, they are a truly good team. They are the champions of Africa currently, so they are, one AFCON and fully deserve that win. And honestly, are a solid team, have a lot of firepower, are clearly missing Sadio Mane. I think they would have an entirely different tactical setup if Sadio Mane was involved and not injured and missing this World Cup, which is so unfortunate. But they deserved this one thoroughly. They played really well, played as great as a team, had great tactics. Their approach all around was just much more direct in this game. And I think because of that, they scored those 3 goals, and they were all well deserved. Qatar, sorry that you all got knocked out at home. Hopefully, you all bounce back. I know you guys are a better team than you have shown in this tournament. Maybe you'll fight for some pride in this next game against the Netherlands in your final game. Hopefully, something will come of that, at least a draw, so that you don't walk out with 3 defeats in your first ever World Cup. That said, Senegal truly have the fate in their hands. They go up against Ecuador. This group is very wide open. Anybody could win this group. Anybody could finish second, with the exception of Qatar. So I'm excited to see where this plays out, whether the Netherlands finish on top as most people expected, or if Senegal and Ecuador do, or if Senegal finishes second, or Ecuador second. I think Ecuador was less expected. So for them to finish second, beat Senegal in this last game, or draw, to move on, will be a huge achievement. So best of luck to everybody. I am excited to see where this group plays out. Third game of the day was Netherlands basically going up against Ecuador, and essentially, I don't know what to think of this Netherlands team. I mean, Cody Gakpo, the 6-minute goal, earliest in the tournament this year. Honestly, he is a star on the rise. Every World Cup brings out some new player that, is like, and everybody's super, super excited about him. Basically, it breaks out. 2014 was James Rodriguez. 2018 was Kylian Mbappe. To me, Cody Gakpo is this year's rising star. And he's phenomenal. I think he's excellent. I think Manchester United should sign him in January to replace Ronaldo. I think that would be an excellent sign for them. He was close to signing for them over the summer, and it fell through, and they decided to sign Antony instead from Ajax. But he would be a phenomenal player for you guys to get. I'm just saying. Just throwing that out there. I'm not even a Man United fan. I mean, my brother-in-law is. I'm not. But I think Cody Gakpo would be an excellent signing for any team looking for a versatile striker, versatile forward who basically can play anywhere across the front line. That said, Netherlands got off to a great start with that 6-minute goal by Cody Gakpo, and then essentially Ecuador fought back into the game. And guess who? Enner Valencia scored their equalizer, who is now currently leading the Golden Boot race with 3 goals. 2 in the first game and then 1 in this game. And honestly, Ecuador were good value for this draw. They deserved this draw. The Netherlands deserved, in my opinion, nothing from this game, and we're lucky that Cody Gakpo had a moment of brilliance at the beginning of the game, or else they would have literally lost this game. They have an incredible depth of talent on the Dutch team, but and I'm sorry to say this, have never been a fan of Louis van Gaal. I don't feel like his tactics are of this century. I think he's very outdated. I think he doesn't get the best out of the players at his disposal. And I think the Dutch are going to not go as far as they could if they had a more progressive coach. I'm going to leave it at that. That is where we are. And honestly, again, Netherlands and Ecuador both have their fate in their own hands. We'll see where the final game in this group goes, but it's anybody's ball game. I think it's going to be fun to watch. So we'll see how that plays out later on this coming week. Final game of the day was the most heralded game that, the pundits have been talking about all week, mostly because the pundits that you're seeing, on Fox Sports are all American for the most part, which don't get me started on the commentary and level thereof or lack thereof. But That said, England USA was today. This was a very hyped game. England coming off that 6-2 demolition of Iran, and the US coming off what many in the US would consider a disappointing draw with Wales 1-1, where they dominated that game in the first half and could have been out of sight. That said, the game finished 0-0. England had, I believe, one shot on target all game. The US had three. US could have won this game in the second half. They thoroughly dominated this game across the board. I think the midfield of Yunus Musa and Tyler Adams were absolutely phenomenal for the United States. I think the United States played excellently. And it's not just because I'm from the US, but the US played a very good game, despite the fact that England played a terrible game. They were drab, they were dull, they were boring, they were lifeless in front of goal. I think Gareth Southgate's squad selection is questionable to literally go with an unchanged 11. I mean, I get that you're essentially playing a team that you see as very cohesive after, a great game in the Iran game, but Harry Kane is injured. He literally was injured in that game, and you play him the entire game. I think that was a mistake. I think you're essentially not chasing the game because you're not losing, but essentially chasing and needing a spark, because you wanted to essentially go on and win this game and essentially punch your ticket to the next round. And you bring on first Jordan Henderson. And I mean, no disrespect to Jordan Henderson. I think he's a great player. He's a great captain for Liverpool. He brings a lot of veteran mentality to the dressing room, but he doesn't bring a spark. Like, you take off Jude Bellingham, who's arguably in this moment in time a better player than Jordan Henderson in terms of form. I mean, granted, he was having a very muted game. I get that, but you bring Jordan Henderson on, and then, I mean, I get it. You bring in Jack Grealish. Okay, that's fine for Raheem Sterling. Okay, Raheem had a very, honestly, poor game by his standards. And Jack Grealish added a little bit of life to the England attack, whatever. And then you bring in Marcus Rashford, but you leave, you need creativity. Your midfield was lacking creativity this entire game, and you bring on Jordan Henderson. I don't get the rationale here. I don't understand Gareth Southgate's tactics in any capacity in this game. You leave Trent Alexander-Arnold and Phil Foden, who arguably is the best, most technical player on the bench the entire game. I mean, I get your hesitation with Trent Alexander-Arnold, his defensive frailties. I get that. And the U.S. could have scored, in the second half. They had opportunities. So I get your hesitation there, Gareth. But to leave Phil Foden on the bench, to essentially have played him for 15 minutes in this entire two games, is shambolic. It's disturbing how, inept you seem. I really don't understand why you leave arguably the greatest English talent on the bench. You have to switch it up in this next game, to get a result. I mean, I get that you like Mason Mount. Okay, that's great. And yeah, he brings some great, sparks every now and again at Chelsea, and he plays great games, but then he also disappears and doesn't do anything like he did in this game. And honestly, arguably not a lot in the first game either. He was solid. Did his job, but the other players around him did excellently in the first game. And I just don't understand how you keep pushing him into that number 10 role. I don't get it. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of players in this game for England that did not perform well. Harry Kane was not particularly great. Raheem Sterling was terrible. Mason Mount did not perform very well. Jude Bellingham had a much more muted game than is up to the standard that he expects. So essentially, England played poorly, but you do have to arguably give credit to the United States for playing a very good game and thoroughly deserve this draw. Also, leaving their fate in their own hands, going up against Iran in the final game. I think that'll be a very tough game for the United States. I think that they need to fully understand how to tactically approach Iran, because they are a very just difficult team to play against, despite their 6-2 demolition at the hands of England in the first game. So This group is also very fascinating. Group B, Group A, like you have three teams whose fate are in their hands. In Group B, you have the same. So essentially, like this World Cup has been fun in that regard, in that the teams that you might have expected to already advance through two games, like the Netherlands and England, have not, and essentially are going into the third game with their fate in their hands, but also below expectations. And then you have other teams, that you would not have expected, doing really well. So, like, I mean, in this case, I'm looking at Ecuador, and honestly, the U.S., Iran. So yeah, I mean, this World Cup has been fun. I'm enjoying this. I can't wait to see the more games tomorrow. But truly, this has been a really interesting day in terms of seeing where teams are and where they can improve. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me today. This was our recap of day 6. This is one man's perspective and only one man's perspective. Tell me what you all think about the games. Tell me what you guys think about the games that got played today. What teams could do better, who underperformed. Just tell me what you guys think. I mean, the World Cup is here for commentary. You're here for unity and discussion, like actual dialogue. I mean, this is essentially what this is all about. So hit us up in the comments. Again, love to hear what you all have to say. I'd love to hear just your feedback on what we're doing here, One Man's Perspective, but also just, like how you're enjoying the World Cup. Get back to us. Like I said, subscribe, hit the like button, leave commentary. But remember, always be respectful in that commentary, please. Thanks again for joining us, and catch us next time. We'll be back tomorrow with our recap for day 7. Cheers, everybody.